Namaskar, a warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is Anita Anand and with me is Reshma Tiwari, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. India advises its citizens, including students in Ukraine, to leave the country temporarily in view of continuing tensions. Air India to operate flights from 22nd of February. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar says India's relations with China are passing through a very difficult phase following violation of border agreements by Beijing. Also emphasizes on strong momentum of India-Germany relations. First, Indian parliamentary delegation leaves for UAE on Monday in a rare move. Lok Sabha Speaker to address Federal National Council. Millennium Challenge Cooperation Compact tabled at the House of Representatives in Nepal. Parliament postponed till February 24. Bangladesh decides to remove all restrictions from February 22 following improvement in COVID-19 situation. Khajuraho Dance Festival begins in central state of Madhya Pradesh. And in cricket, India set a target of 185 runs before West Indies in third and final T20 International in Kolkata. With the new Omicron variant of coronavirus causing concern, we appeal to our listeners to be vigilant and to get fully vaccinated and help others, including children between 15 and 18 years, to get vaccinated. Please continue to follow these 3 simple steps to stay safe. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 01123978046 and 1075. And now, the news in detail. India has advised all its nationals in Ukraine whose stay is not essential and all Indian students to leave the country temporarily in view of continuing tensions in Ukraine. Indian Embassy in Kyiv has asked students to also get in touch with student contractors for updates on charter flights. Available commercial flights and charter flights may be availed for travel for orderly and timely departure. Indian students have also been asked to follow Embassy Facebook page, Twitter handle and website for any updates. Tata Group operated airline company Air India has announced that it will operate 3 flights between India and Ukraine later this month. The airline said it will operate 3 flights between India and Ukraine on 22nd, 24th and 26th of this month. Seats are available on these flights and booking is open through Air India booking offices, website, call center and authorized travel agents. Earlier, in view of prevailing tensions between Ukraine and Russia, the Embassy of India in Ukraine had advised students not to resort to panic but book the earliest available and convenient flights to travel back to India. It also said that more flights are being planned in near future, including from Air India and Ukrainian international airlines. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Saturday called for Russian President Vladimir Putin to meet him and seek resolution to the crisis. He said at the Munich Security Conference that he is proposing a meeting to the President of Russian Federation and Russia could pick up the location for the talks. Mr. Zelensky also met with the US Vice President Kamala Harris at the conference. He said Ukraine will continue to follow not only the diplomatic path for the sake of a peaceful settlement. There was no immediate response from the Kremlin.
External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has said that India's relations with China right now are going through a very difficult phase after Beijing violated border agreements. Addressing the Munich Security Conference 2022 panel discussion, Dr. Jaishankar said that for 45 years there was peace, there was stable border management, there were no military casualties on the border. The minister said India had agreements with China not to bring military forces to the line of actual control, but the Chinese violated those agreements. He said that the state of the border will determine the state of the relationship.
There was stable border management. There were no military casualties on the border from 1975. That changed because we had agreements with China not to bring military forces to we call it border, but it's line of actual control. And the Chinese violated those agreements. Now, the state of the border will determine the state of the relationship. That's natural. So, obviously, relations with China right now are going through a very difficult phase.
Dr. Jaishankar expressed happiness on meeting the Indian community at Munich in Germany. In a tweet, he said the feelings of Indian community for this country were so heartwarming. He also shared with the community members the confident national mood and emphasized on the strong momentum of India-Germany relations. The External Affairs Minister reached Germany on Friday to take part in the Munich Security Conference. He held a series of meetings with ministers from Europe, Asia and other parts of the world on the sidelines of the conference on Saturday. Mr. Om Birla, the Speaker of the lower house of Parliament, Lok Sabha, will lead a parliamentary delegation to the United Arab Emirates from Monday to 25th February. This is the first ever visit under the bilateral exchange of parliamentary delegations from either side. The delegation includes Mr. Sushil Kumar Modi, Dr. Fauzia Tehseen Ahmed Khan, Dr. M.K. Vishnu Prasad, P. Ravindranath, Shankar Lalwani and Dr. Sujay Radhakrishna Vikhe Patil. During their visit to UAE, the delegation will meet their host Sakar Gobash, Speaker of the Federal National Council of UAE. They will also call on Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, and Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President and Prime Minister of the UAE. The delegation will also meet Minister of Tolerance and Coexistence Sheikh Nahyan bin Mubarak Al Nahyan and Foreign Affairs Minister Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan. The Lok Sabha Speaker will have the rare honour of addressing the Federal National Council of UAE on the 22nd of this month.
The recently concluded free trade agreement between India and UAE has been hailed by the captains of industry from both India and the UAE. In our hotspot segment today, we have a commentary on India-UAE Comprehensive Partnership Agreement by our Foreign Affairs Editor, Dr. Atul Kumar Tiwari.
India and United Arab Emirates inked their first free trade agreement under the ambit of CEPA, or the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, on February 18, 2022 to give a fillip to trade, commerce and investment between the two nations. It gives duty-free access to a wide range of goods and services, boost to exports and double the trade to $100 billion in the next 5 years, taking the bilateral ties to a new level. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal and UAE Minister for Economy Abdullah bin Tawq Al-Mari signed the deal in New Delhi during a virtual summit between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. The FTA has been unique in many ways. It took just 88 days to seal the deal, for which negotiations started in September 2021, and it is the first major trade deal signed by the NDA government since it came to power in 2014. The agreement covers areas like goods, services, rules of origin, customs procedures, government procurement, digital economy, intellectual property rights, and e-commerce. Robust rules of origin have been put in place to protect both the nations from misuse of the agreement by the other countries. A permanent safety mechanism is there to safeguard domestic businesses in both the countries against sudden increase in trade volumes. India has given duty concessions on gold exported from UAE, while Indian exporters will attract 0% duty on jewellery. Some products have been kept on the exclusion list for both the nations, while in some cases customs duty will be reduced in a phased manner. For the first time in the pharmaceutical sector, the two sides agreed that Indian medicines or medical products approved by developed countries will get market access and regulatory approval within 90 days for being marketed in the UAE. The CEPA will come into effect from the first week of May, 60 days after entry into force. After this deal, over 90% of India's exports to the United Arab Emirates will become duty-free. 9 broad sectors that account for 90% of India's exports in terms of value to the UAE will get immediate market access at zero duty from the day the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement is enforced. These sectors are textiles, engineering products, gems and jewellery, pharmaceuticals and medical devices, plastics, automobiles, leather and footwear, agricultural products and other labor-intensive products such as furniture, wood products and sports goods. annual exports worth $26 billion from India, on which currently 5% import duty is levied in the UAE, are set to benefit. The MSME sector from India will gain a lot as the deal opens up around 1 million job opportunities for the young people. The UAE is expected to benefit from potentially larger exports of metals and minerals, petrochemicals, petroleum products and dates. The agreement will give a fillip to manufacturing in India. The reduction in import cost of inputs would benefit domestic industries. Zero duty on textiles is likely to generate additional exports worth $2 billion over the next 5 years. Indian generic medicines and medical devices will get automatic approval in 90 days, enhancing their production. Export of plain gold jewelry and gold-studded jewelry is expected to increase to $10 billion in 2023. On the other hand, the exports of engineering goods are projected to grow up from $4 billion in 2021-22 to $7 billion in 2024-25. The free trade agreement is important given the fact that UAE is the gateway to West Asia, Africa and Europe. The UAE is the third largest trading partner for India in bilateral trade and the second largest destination for Indian exports after the US. India-UAE bilateral trade was $60 billion and exports were at $29 billion in 2020. Besides, UAE is the 8th largest investor in India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, issued a joint vision statement titled Advancing the India and UAE Comprehensive Strategic Partnership, New Frontiers, New Milestone at a virtual summit which lays down key deliverables. It calls for a boost to bilateral trade to $100 billion in 5 years, a dedicated investment zone for UAE firms, joint ventures to focus on setting up a food corridor, dedicated India Mart in Jebel Ali Free Zone, support energy transition and work on low carbon future, establish a joint hydrogen task force to scale up technology and setting up of an Indian Institute of Technology in the UAE. Prime Minister Narendra Modi summed up the mood aptly when he said this agreement will herald a new age in our financial relations, while the Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal mentioned that both the nations are entering a golden era of economic and trade cooperation with the signing of India-UAE CEPA. The UAE Minister for Economy, Abdullah bin Taq Al Mari, expressed confidence that the UAE-India Comprehensive Partnership Agreement will be regarded as a towering achievement, a new era not only for the two nations but for global trade. As India celebrates 75 years of its independence and UAE celebrates its Golden Jubilee year, the two nations could not have asked for a better gift for each other in the form of Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement or the CEPA. It is a win-win for both the economies and their people.
Meanwhile, the Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal has said that after the signing of India-UAE Free Trade Agreement, India looks forward to a similar economic partnership agreement with the Gulf Cooperation Council countries. The Secretary General of the GCC has expressed a desire to fast-track the negotiations and conclude it this year. The GCC comprises of 6 Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, Oman and Bahrain, with a combined nominal GDP of $1.6 trillion. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal chaired a meeting focused on the revamping and fortification of the Department of Commerce to make it future-ready. The strengthening of the department is expected to facilitate the creation of the ecosystem necessary to achieve the target of $2 trillion exports by 2027. Speaking at the meeting, the minister called for the consistent strengthening of the Directorate General of Foreign Trade and other organizations and bodies that promote investment and trade. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
Nepal government tabled the Millennium Challenge Cooperation Compact at the House of Representatives on Sunday. The compact was tabled by Minister for Communications and Information Technology Gyanendra Bahadur Karki on behalf of Minister for Finance Janardhan Sharma, as the latter gave the session a miss. The ratification of the compact is still uncertain as the lawmakers, both in ruling coalition and in opposition, are divided over the endorsement of the same. Meanwhile, Speaker Agni Prasad Sapkota has said the aid agreement reached between Nepal government and the Millennium Challenge Corporation of the US was tabled in the parliament to prevent Nepali society from further polarizing. Following the tabling of the MCC compact, the federal parliament has been postponed for 4 days till February the 24th. The $500 million grant agreement signed in September 2017 is meant for building electricity transmission lines and improving roads in Nepal. After continued delays, the Americans warned that they could terminate the compact if Nepali leaders failed to fulfill their own signed commitments and table and ratify it by February the 28th. Meanwhile, police in Kathmandu fired tear gas and water cannon to disperse protesters opposed to a US-funded infrastructure program that was presented in Parliament for ratification. In view of improvement in COVID-19 situation in Bangladesh, the government has decided to remove all restrictions from February the 22nd. The decision was taken in the cabinet meeting chaired by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina in Dhaka on Sunday. Briefing Media Cabinet Secretary Khandekar Anwarul Islam said that a clear instruction was given to schools to start face-to-face classes from 22nd of this month, while primary schools will open from March the 1st. However, wearing of masks in public places will continue to remain mandatory. Cabinet Secretary informed that a special drive has been planned for February the 26th to vaccinate 1 crore people with COVID-19 shots. Amid sharply rising cases of COVID-19 in the country, the government had imposed an 11-point restriction on January 13th, which was further extended till February 7th and again till February 21st. However, Bangladesh has seen a sharp improvement in the COVID situation in the last few weeks, with sample positivity rate remaining below 10% for the last 3 days.
In a move to clamp down on dissenting voices, the Pakistan cabinet on Saturday approved a summary of a 5-year sentence for criticizing the state institutions, including the Pakistan Army, judiciary and others, on electronic media. The federal cabinet approved the amendment in the Electronic Crimes Prevention Act through an ordinance which will come into force after presidential approval, reported the News International. Taiwan Foreign Minister Joseph Wu said that China could start a conflict in the Taiwan Strait to distract attention from its domestic crises. He said that if China's economy becomes stagnant, oppressed ethnic minorities become increasingly discontent, or an internal crisis occurs, China may stir up conflict in the strait as distraction. In an interview with ITV News, reported Taiwan News. Joseph Wu also reiterated that Taiwan will strengthen self-defense capabilities whether China attacks or not, and fully defend its territorial sovereignty and democratic way of life.
As part of efforts to ensure all school-age girls and boys in Afghanistan go to school and learn, the United Nations International Children Emergency Fund, UNICEF, and partners are providing emergency cash support to all public education teachers for the months of January and February. In a statement, the UNICEF said the EU-funded payment amounting to the equivalent of $100 a month in Afghani per teacher, male and female. An estimated 194,000 public school teachers nationwide will benefit. Dr. Muhammad Ayoya, UNICEF Afghanistan representative, said that following months of uncertainty and hardship for many teachers, they are pleased to extend emergency support to public school teachers in Afghanistan. Northeastern states of Arunachal Pradesh and Mizoram are celebrating their Statehood Day on Sunday. President Ramnath Kovind, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi greeted people of Arunachal Pradesh and Mizoram on the occasion. The Prime Minister shared a video message on the Statehood Day of Arunachal Pradesh. He expressed confidence that Eastern India and especially Northeast India will be the engine of the country's growth in the 21st century. Greeting people of Mizoram on their Statehood Day, Mr. Modi said India takes great pride in the vibrant Mizo culture and the contributions of Mizoram to national progress.
Polling concluded peacefully in northern states of Punjab and Uttar Pradesh. The polling held for the single-phase assembly elections in Punjab and third phase of polls in Uttar Pradesh on Sunday. Voting took place in 59 assembly constituencies spread over 16 districts of Uttar Pradesh and 117 seats in Punjab. Elections are being held in 7 phases in Uttar Pradesh. According to latest figures, 63.44% voter turnout was recorded in Punjab and 57.43% voting was registered in Uttar Pradesh. In Punjab, it is a multi-cornered contest with a total of 1,304 candidates in the fray, including 93 women candidates. The Culture Ministry of India will organize a 2-day event on the occasion of International Mother Language Day on 21st of February as part of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. The event will start from Monday at the Indira Gandhi National Centre of Arts, New Delhi. During the event, keynote address will be delivered by Culture Secretary Director of UNESCO Cluster Office and renowned lyricist and poet Prasoon Joshi. The function will also witness poetry recitation, group song and dance. A webinar on using technology for multilingual learning challenges and opportunities will be held. A book, Tribal and Indigenous Languages of India, written by Dean of IGNCA Professor Ramesh Gaur, will also be launched in the event. An event, Ekam Bharatam, will witness distinguished presence of Minister of State for Culture and External Affairs Meenakshi Lekhi to formally release the Vande Bharatam soundtrack. The International Mother Language Day is observed worldwide on 21st of February every year to promote awareness of linguistic and cultural diversity and to promote multilingualism.
The World Day of Social Justice is being observed on Sunday. It is aimed at raising voice against social injustice and address the issues of illiteracy, religious and physical discrimination, poverty, race and ethnicity. This year's theme is Achieving Social Justice Through Formal Employment. In 2007, the United Nations General Assembly had declared this day as World Day of Social Justice. The global goals are a universal call for social justice that seek to address poverty and inequality to leave no one behind. The 48th Khajuraho Dance Festival commenced on Sunday evening at Khajuraho in Madhya Pradesh, the central part of the country. Madhya Pradesh Governor Mangu Bhai Patel inaugurated the festival. The week-long festival will be held till February 26th. A report from AIR News correspondent.
The 48th edition of the world-famous Khajuraho Dance Festival is being organized in Khajuraho, located in Chhatarpur district of Madhya Pradesh. The festival is being organized on the theme of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Renowned artists from across the country and the world are performing at the festival. On the first day, Kathak performance by the disciples of late Pandit Birju Maharaj Kalashram, New Delhi is center of attraction. Besides dance performances, tourists are getting acquainted with the local culture, art and food by participating in interesting activities like Heritage Run, Village Tour, Water Rafting, E-Bike Tour organized by Tourist Department during the festival. Pooja P. Vardhan for World News, AIR.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. Let's take a look at the press reports on China. Many media houses prominently carried the remarks by External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar that India's relations with China right now were going through a very difficult phase after Beijing violated border agreements. Reuters reported Australia accused China of act of intimidation. A Chinese Navy vessel directed a laser at an Australian military aircraft in flight over Australia's northern approaches, illuminating the plane and potentially endangering lives, Australia's defence said on Saturday. Australia strongly condemned unprofessional and unsafe military conduct from a People's Liberation Army Navy vessel, a statement from Australian Defence Ministry said. South China Morning Post writes, Taiwan reveals plans of live fire drills at islets near Chinese mainland. Several media outlets reported UN Human Rights Chief Michelle Bachelet can visit China and Xinjiang. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi said on Saturday, but China does not welcome any investigation based on the presumption of guilt. Bachelet was has long sought access to the Western Chinese region to investigate accusations of abuse against ethnic Uyghurs. The issue has strained ties between Beijing and the West, sparking accusations of genocide from Washington and a US-led diplomatic boycott by some countries of the Winter Olympics in Beijing.
Now let's take a look at what made the headlines in Nepal. Khabar Hub reports that the United States has clarified that the decision to ratify the Millennium Challenge Corporation is Nepal's sovereign decision. Issuing a statement on Saturday, the US Embassy in Kathmandu said, whether Nepali leaders ratify MCC is a decision for Nepal to make as a sovereign democratic nation and Nepal's decision alone. The Kathmandu Post has carried a column which says that the protracted controversy over the $500 million Millennium Challenge Corporation Compact is a manifestation of deeply divided domestic politics. The confusion, delay, indecisiveness and division between the political parties and opinion makers on the MCC Compact have weakened the country on both the domestic and international fronts. And now some news from Bangladesh. Bangladesh Foreign Minister Dr. A.K. Abdul Momen has thanked India for extending line of credit for various projects and Japan for investing in Bangladesh infrastructure, reports Daily Star. He was speaking at a panel discussion on the second day of the Munich Security Conference 2022. The government of Bangladesh has decided to extend weekly holidays in schools to 2 days. Education Minister Deepu Moni told the media that the decision will be effective next year, reports Business Standard.
And turning to Afghanistan now, Pajwok reports that former Afghanistan President Hamid Karzai has thanked Prime Minister Modi for praising the Afghan attire and conveyed his best wishes to him and the friendly people of India. Tolu News writes that UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres raised an alarm over risks of terrorism as a spillover out of Afghanistan. The risks of terrorism spillover out of Afghanistan, Guterres said, while talking at the Munich Security Conference, as well as the alarming spread of terrorism in some African countries, show how adept terrorists are at exploiting power vacuums and subverting fragile states. And in cricket, India win third and final T20 international by 17 runs at Eden Gardens, Kolkata on Sunday, chasing a victory target of 185 runs set by India in the stipulated 20 overs. West Indies made 167 for the loss of 9 wickets in the 20 overs. Earlier, the host scored 184 for 5 in the stipulated 20 overs. Surya Kumar Yadav was the highest scorer for India with impressive 65 runs off just 31 balls. Earlier, the visitors won the toss and elected to field. And now a quick look at the headlines once again. India advises its citizens, including students in Ukraine, to leave the country temporarily in view of continuing tensions. Air India to operate flights from 22nd of February. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar says India's relations with China are passing through a very difficult phase following violation of border agreements by Beijing. Also emphasizes on strong momentum of India-Germany relations. First, Indian parliamentary delegation leave for UAE on Monday. In a rare move, Lok Sabha Speaker to address Federal National Council. Millennium Challenge Corporation Compact tabled at the House of Representatives in Nepal. Parliament postponed till February 24. Bangladesh decides to remove all restrictions from February 22 following improvement in COVID-19 situation. Khajuraho Dance Festival begins in central Indian state of Madhya Pradesh. And in cricket, India win against West Indies by 17 runs in third and final T20 International in Kolkata. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Spain.
La la la.
that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.